If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you.
So once again, I'm watching Gang, and I'm intrigued by Gang, which is the acronym for Guiding the New Generation. I'm intrigued because these guys are, well, let me read their manifesto or their mission statement. This is the mission statement from Gang. We are an organised collective committed to community outreach. Our aim is to build community cohesion whilst redefining how society views gang culture, as well as redirecting the frustrations of our youth into something that is productive, enriching and also empowering for our younger generations. The creation of effective, long-lasting, workable peace treaties between opposing groups is a priority, along with empowering and provision of educational experience. Our youth, in inverted commas, do not have the opportunity of privilege to participate in to broaden their horizons. Bit of a mouthful, but there's no punctuation at the end. Okay, that's their mission statement. There should be more punctuation there, but nevertheless, that's fine. So that's Gang, committed to community outreach and to build a community of cohesion whilst redefining how society views gang culture. Now, my criticisms in that mission statement is that it does not mention anything to do with white supremacy. Now, I can hear what members of Gang will say. They'll be talking about, you know, we don't need to mention white supremacy, you know, it's there, people know it's there, we're just trying to reach out, and that's fine, that's fine, community outreach is fine, but with your appearance at Speaker's Corner and the amount of white supremacists that you have to deal with on a regular basis that I've seen, this is just what I've seen on YouTube, I've not even seen all your videos, this is just what I've seen so far. How are you leaving white supremacy out? How are you giving them a pass? You're talking to white supremacists on a regular basis, but you don't want to call them out. The first thing you need to do is call people out. You need to be accurate. You can't just be on this, sitting on the fence saying, "Oh, I know you're saying racist stuff, but I don't believe you're a racist." Like, what's that all about? Like, and also I heard one of the members say that they've got all different groups in Gang. Got Arabs. You got Moroccans or whatever. It's not just black people. That's a problem. I see that as a problem because it should be focused on black people, because white supremacy is hardest on black people. The more melanated you are, the more you're gonna get it. And I just don't understand how members of Gang can't see how clear this is. Maybe it's a bit of the thing is, I think it's a bit taboo to mention white supremacy or to talk about white supremacy in the UK, because people get their backs up, and the people that get their backs up are usually the white supremacists. These are the ones that get their backs up, because to deny the system exists and it's all around us is futile. It doesn't matter whether you deny it or not. It's there, and it's there for everybody to see. We know air is there, no one can see it though. So racism, when we can see it, but for some reason people don't want to acknowledge that it's there and it's all around us, because it is. Now, I watched a video where a member of the Gang group is talking to a suspected white supremacist female. I believe she's a white supremacist. She talks about she's got 2 kids from black men and got 6 kids from a white guy. I feel sorry for those mixed race kids, to be honest, because they've clearly got a white supremacist as a mother, and God knows what type of life they're gonna have and how they're gonna internalize that. Anyway, so I'm watching this and I'm just thinking, you guys really need to start calling out white supremacy. I don't know what people are scared of. I know what they're scared of. They're scared of white people. That's the thing. You don't want to get white people's backs up. You don't want to start lumbering every white person into the same, in the same bracket. But to call out white supremacy, you're not saying that all white people are racist. That's not what you're saying. You're not saying that. I think members of Gang need to educate themselves on white supremacy and the system they're living in, because they can try and make it about intersectionality, they could try and make it about poverty, they could try and make it about, this group of people living here is more affected because we're living here. But it's always going to come down to your colour, the colour of your skin. It's always going to be that. That's always going to be the main problem. And you can hide from it, you can try not to mention it, you can try and ignore it, you can try and bypass it. It doesn't matter what you try and do, because that's the main thing, okay? The McPherson report, taken during the Stephen Lawrence inquiry, it found that the Metropolitan Police were institutionally racist. This is the police. Imagine that. No one got fired, by the way. I mean, Sir Paul Condon, he left his post. He resigned to a healthy pension, probably. But Sir Paul Condon resigned from the post as Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police. No one really got fired. So that institutional racism is still there. Now, what's happened is it's just become better. It's been more refined. You can't just be blatantly racist. And if you are blatantly racist, another racist will pull you up for it and hold you over the coals as to prove that, hey, I'm not racist. Often that they are. This is the Jedi mind trick that they play on you. And this is why we're perpetually in the same situation, no matter what sort of outreach programs we've got going on, no matter what youth centres that's been opening, no matter what new incentives that they've got for black youths. This is a perpetual thing, because it's just pure white supremacy. That is the biggest problem for the black community, is white supremacy. And my thing is, my answer to that, my remedy, is just to call it out. That's all you need to do. You just need to acknowledge it, have a code about you, and call it out. All right. So I'm seeing in the park, the Speaker's Corner Park. I'm very tempted to go out there, but talking in circles is not really my thing. So I'll just talk into the microphone and throw it out there and see whoever catches it. Whoever catches it, catches it. Whoever don't. If you think I'm talking rubbish, that's absolutely fine. That is your prerogative. However, I'm not stupid, and I've seen this. I've seen it, and we all know. Every black person knows. We feel the white supremacy in the air. We feel it in the system. We feel it everywhere. Some people might not call it white supremacy. Some people might ignore it. Some people might deal with the pain in a different way. Because to acknowledge white supremacy is very scary. Where do you go? It's a scary world to start thinking we live under a system of white supremacy. No one really wants to think that, because you might have white friends, you might, have a white partner, you're around a bunch of white people, you think if my group is going to be elevated, it's going to be a white person to catch us and to help us out, so we don't really want to alienate the whole white race. So calling out white supremacy is a bit that kind of alienates the white people. It might be something to do with that. I don't know. But personally, I do believe it needs to be called out more than it is, because during Speaker's Corner, from the videos I've listened to about 10 different videos, okay, from different people, and white supremacy isn't called out at all. I mean, some people might say it in passing, like I heard someone say, whether it's your white supremacists, your racists, your EDLs, your far right, all these different names just mean white supremacy. This is another Jedi mind trick. White supremacists are incredibly intelligent and smart, otherwise they wouldn't be running the system. So you have to give that to them. They're smart. The white extremists, the knuckle dragging thugs that you might see out and about screaming EDL or this new party, this new football league or whatever they're called. These far right hooligans, as it were. These are not. They're low level white supremacists. They're just as much affected by white supremacy as black people. But the thing is, it's okay because they're white, so that's what they hold on to. They might be poor, impoverished, disenfranchised, not really having a good life, but they hold on to that white card. And when they see black people doing anything positive, that's that they lose their shit. They start going mad as hell. Because that white card, you can be poor as anybody. You can be the poorest, downtrodden, most brokest, living in the worst situation. But if you're white, you'll hold on to that white card and you'll raise it when it comes down to black people. Okay? Because white supremacy doesn't just necessarily they all don't get along. Yeah, but they have a certain code though when it comes down to black people. White supremacists don't all like each other. They don't all belong to one club that they all go to and dance and then make up how to be white supremacists. It doesn't work like that. You know, it's a lot more complex. Let's say it's a system of many millions of cogs just working their own individual. Whether it's the media that's working the brain of the young and trying to put images and ideas into young people's heads, whether it's the news organizations, whether it's TV, film, whether it's the education board, whether it's work programs, whether it's the opportunities that are presented to you in school. There's loads of different cogs working, and it comes together to form the white supremacist system that we live in. To say that we live in a system of white supremacy doesn't mean that every single white person is doing well, or every single white person is rich, or every single white person is benefiting. That's not what white supremacy is. This is why Neely Fuller said, if you don't understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else you understand will only confuse you. This is why Neely Fuller mentions that, because that's so true. We do not understand white supremacy. We don't get it. White supremacy is like the skinhead, it's like the skinhead that's calling you nigger, or the person that's calling you nigger. That's white supremacy. White supremacy is this woman here with 2 mixed race kids. That's white supremacy. She doesn't understand. She hasn't got a clue. Speaking absolute twaddle. Speaking about you got aggression to this member of gang. Just speaking in all types of racial sort of dog whistles, getting it all in. But she needs to be called out. But I bet she'll go mad as hell if you try to say, you know what, love, I reckon you're a white supremacist. She'll lose it. She'll be like, no, I've got black kids and all my mates are black and I know black people, my husband's black. All of that will start coming out. She doesn't really understand that she is a white supremacist. She believes white people can do no wrong, and I bet she does, because what she's saying suggests that that's her opinions, because she is talking absolute swaddle. She's trying to say let's all come together, ignoring the plight that you guys don't want us. You get called nigger and go home, all of that. That's the type of stuff we get from you guys. The police are targeting black people. Black people just have a hard time. It's not like we're not trying to integrate, because that's all black people want. We just want white people to love us. It's like that's all we seem to want. Okay, we realise that they don't love us, so we try and regroup within ourselves. So all this, let's come together. Like, you're talking to the wrong people, love. You're talking to the wrong people. You need to talk to your lot. Because black people are accommodating, more than accommodating when it comes down to white folks. We're not even calling that white supremacy when it's in your face. For us to call that white supremacy, it would seem it's like someone would need to be in your boat calling you a nigger, a black bastard, all of that. That's when you'll be like, do you know what, I reckon he's white supremacist. And even then, we won't be too sure. We'll be thinking, I think he might be racist, because he was calling me a nigger and calling me a monkey and calling me a black bastard, but I don't know, It's like we're scared to call it out. The fuck? I don't get it. So, yeah, and I'm picking on gang because from what I can see, they're the only sort of black-centric type of group I'm seeing on Speaker's Corner. I see a lot of Muslims, a lot of Arabs doing their thing, all of that prayer that they do. Crack on, innit? If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But gang, unfortunate name, but gang are the only black representatives of that I've seen. Maybe there are more. Maybe I need to take a trip down to Speaker's Corner and have a look for myself. But from my YouTube feeds and my recommendeds, it's like, I'm getting, gang come up and discussions at Speaker's Corner, and anytime it's to do with the black community or black people, it's usually gang speaking on that. So I believe I have the right to speak on it too. For those of you who are thinking, why are you commenting? I'm just, I want to, let me comment. So I'm saddened at the fact that we're not calling out white supremacy. We're not doing anything about it. We're not calling it out. It doesn't seem like it's a big deal. Where I believe that's the biggest problem we've got. And it's a very complex problem because they play both sides. They'll be the guy saying, don't call him a nigger, and they'll be the guy calling you a nigger. They play both sides, so I don't blame black people in the UK for being confused. I don't blame you, because it's so subtle here. The stiff British upper lip, as it were, used into full effect. But for some reason, it doesn't need to be as clear as day, because you feel it in your bones from when you're in school to growing up. And just your daily interactions with white people. Those that are, the thing is, this is what I believe. I think those that are oblivious about white supremacy is probably because they've been around a lot of black people and they've not spent time with white people. I mean, they might believe, some white people are racist, and their interactions have mainly been with the police. They've not seen the racism in the nicest white people that they've met. They've not seen that. They've not called it out. It's too, all it takes is for a white person to be nice to us, and that's it. We're theirs. It's like we our hearts melt. We just fucking melt. That's all it takes. A couple of white people not to call you a nigger to your face, and then they're the best things since sliced bread. This is it. So white supremacists can really get within the heart of a black community, because black people are so downtrodden. We just love a white person not to be racist to us. This is it. This is why we'll accept anybody, who is white that doesn't come across as blatantly racist. And especially if they're speaking that black talk. Especially if they're talking that, that black talk. They can infiltrate easily, with ease. So we've got an issue, and the issue is we're not calling out white supremacy where it is. It doesn't matter who doesn't like it. Gang will be a lot more effective if they were to call out white supremacy. And I know a lot of people are thinking, that's just victim mentality. You're just playing the race card. You're just being a victim. And we as black people, our pride, we don't want to be seen as victims. And I heard one of the members of gang say that I'm not a victim. Unfortunately, you are my friend. You're a victim. You live in the system of white supremacy. You're a victim. We're all victims. That's nothing to be ashamed of. We didn't put ourselves in this situation. Our ancestors were victims. They were kept in slave boats. Some of them was. And even if your ancestor wasn't a slave per se, that interaction, that slave interaction that white people have with us, a lot of white people, that was their first interaction with black people, was as slaves. So whether you come from kings, whether you come from royalty in the past, to a lot of these Europeans, you're just an ex-slave, a former slave, a retired slave, an out-of-work slave, and it's just, it's sad, but you've got to deal with reality. If you're a drug addict or you've got a serious problem with addiction, they say to you the first part is to admit you have the problem. Black people have not admitted we have a problem. We've not admitted that our problem is white supremacy. We use white supremacy as a segue word into, all other things. Someone calling you a name, someone being rude to you, far right. That should be the main thing. Okay? People who feel that they're superior based on race, based on skin colour. And you have Arabs. Arabs are another. I don't even want to get into Arabs. Arabs are another thing that you don't want to be getting stuck into this whole black and brown cohesion. There is no black and brown unity. The Browns don't like the black. Let's get that straight. Yeah? I'm speaking generally. Obviously, there's going to be a few that you get on with. You're going to have a few white friends. You're going to have a few Arab friends, a few Indian friends, whatever. I'm talking as a whole, right? The brown, they don't like the black. So your Indian friend or your Arab friend, you just ask them what their parents think about you. You just ask them what their parents think about you. See how, inclusive they are. So I would suggest to gang that they need to call out white supremacy more. That's the only way. You can try and hide behind everything else. You can try and not to, try and appease your white buddies or your white members or your non-black supporters. But ultimately, it's always going to come back to that, because that is the main problem. So you could ignore it. You could ignore it for 10, 20 years, but it will come back to that. White supremacy, it doesn't sleep. It knows everything. It watches all. So I might be paranoid, but you tell me, from your experience, am I? I don't believe I am. Anyway, that's me. Peace.